Welcome to Fandom Power.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Fandom Power. My name is Wes Arscott, and I'm joined once again today by our super producer, the wizard behind the keyboard. Don't roll your eyes like that. It's all true. Andrew Dawe.
Yo.
And once again, all the way back out in Halifax, co-host extraordinaire, the man on the mic, Hank McClocklin.
What's going on, fellas? World, how are you?
Before we get going, I just want to say, if this is your first time joining us, thank you. Thank you for choosing us. Your entertainment options are wide and varied, and the fact that you've chosen us, that means something. So hopefully you stick around. And of course, for everybody else who's been along with us for the long ride, you know what this is about. Today, we are going back to Star Wars. No surprise.
We've had a vision.
I don't know. We keep saying we're not a Star Wars channel or not a Star Wars show, and yet here we are.
We just sort of lean that direction a lot.
So this time it's Star Wars Visions. It's the anthology series that recently premiered on Disney Plus. I guess it was September 22nd. So we're within a week.
Around that.
So. Yeah. I think everybody's had a chance to cover it. Certainly, if you've not had a chance to watch it, I do highly recommend it. I guess that's my sort of initial thoughts are, it's confirmed to be a non-canonical anthology series, but at the same time,
it's interesting.
The stories are, by and large, for me anyway, I would say that 8 of the 9 episodes they're really good. I really like the whole thing as a whole. What did you guys think?
It raises some interesting questions too, like where they diverge from canon in terms of ability and style and things of that nature. I'm wondering are they bringing canon, is that what their springboard is, right? So little things like depending on the Jedi, just a Jedi picks up a lightsaber, and depending on his connection to the Force, the lightsaber instantly changes.
Yeah, that was an interesting. Yeah,
that's really cool, actually. And the idea that now canon that a red lightsaber is a former Jedi's light crystal that has been bled.
Yeah,
and therefore that character in the first episode who isn't necessarily Sith but wields a red lightsaber, is that he just found it and picked it up? Was he able to bleed a light? Was that his and he's trying to turn it back? So it does, there's a lot of, and my initial thought was a comment you had about the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and that's
right.
You could say that Star Wars is good without lightsabers.
Oh, but it's a whole lot better
with them.
Yeah.
And this is so lightsaber heavy.
It is.
Super happy.
I'm going to stick with lightsabers for a second, because throughout one of the common, at least visual themes throughout almost all of the episodes is that lightsabers in this anthology series are far more akin to the darksaber in terms of their overall shape. We're talking about, really edged blades, right? Not that conical tube of energy. So it's kind of cool. It's a little off-putting at first, but then it's like, okay, I get it. We're talking, a lot of Japanese culture and digging into the samurai lore. So it made sense to me. But then it's like, the darksaber is thin just like that. So it's no stretch of the imagination for me.
Right.
Yeah. So I think today we're going to take a sort of a holistic look at the whole thing as is an anthology. So we're going to sort of talk about the whole thing. It's not going to be necessarily a big deep dive, but I thought it'd be nice to get together and kind of chat about what we liked, what we didn't like, and what do we think about the series, sort of how it relates to Star Wars that's come before, and Star Wars that may be coming. So let's get started with the first one. This first one, it's called The Duel, and the internet buzz around this one is that this is pretty much the front runner for a fan favorite. I think it's not my ultimate favorite in the series, but it's pretty cool. I'm gonna borrow from the Wikipedia because I feel like the breakdown here is a little bit longer than the one that's on Disney Plus. So if you've not seen it yet, spoiler, set in an alternate history 20 years after a war between a feudal Jedi Empire and a renegade Jedi secret sect called the Sith, a lone wanderer known only as the Ronin witnesses a legion of former stormtroopers attempt to besiege a small village. The Ronin fights the leader of the bandits, a self-declared Dark Lord of the Sith, armed with a heavily modified lightsaber, while his droid saves the villagers. The Ronin, a former actual Sith, lures her into a trap and kills her. The Ronin, shown to be collecting red kyber crystals from each Sith that he has killed, decides to give the leader's crystal to the villagers, citing that it can ward off evil. This one is written by, what was the name? You know what?
Takashi Okazaki.
I was going to say, you're really going to have to be super forgiving here because my Japanese is not very good. So as Andy said, written by Takashi Okazaki and directed by Takanobu Mizuno. So, hey, Star Wars Visions. I probably should use the media that we have at our fingertips.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there it is. There's our title card. And Kamikaze Duga. So that's the studio. Andy, you got any notes on the studio?
I do not have any
that's
notes
okay.
on this particular one, no.
I should probably start out by saying that my last foray into anime that I actually sat down and watched an entire anime was like Samurai 7. So like right around 2007, 2008. Unless you include Castlevania. It's been a while since I've chewed on some anime.
I feel like I'm a pretty bad anime fan lately. One of my top 10 films of all time is anime, which is Akira.
Yeah.
And I feel like I subscribe to 2 anime streaming services and almost never turn them on because Netflix is anime heavy now. But I feel like I've been doing the genre a bit of an injustice. And this really actually reminded me why, even outside of Star Wars, I love anime.
I felt like overall, not just this episode, not just the duel, but the whole the show in general, the whole series also was a reminder of why I also enjoy anime. And it was, even arguably the weaker episodes, because I mean, each episode varies wildly in terms of style and tone, and yet it's all anime and it's all good in its own right. That's the issue.
Absolutely.
I don't want to call it an issue, but I guess that's maybe one of the standout things about anime is it's such a
it can vary greatly.
Yeah, it's such a weird encompassing style.
For people not in the sort of the loop, like animation is so culturally different in Japan than it is here. You have more animation on sort of their broadcast TV than you do live action. You have animated sitcoms and romance stories. It's culturally it's a lot different. And so just like live action TV where we have 500 different genres shot in 500 different styles, you have that in Japan where it's all TV or all entertainment, if you will, under that same sort of bubble, but there are infinite styles. And I really feel strongly too that like Star Wars undeniably has strong Japanese roots, and George Lucas.
Absolutely.
And this is so much like coming home. It's crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, the Macquarie concept art for a lot of Star Wars 77 definitely samurai influence. I mean, it's undeniable. In characters like Darth Vader and his armor, and of course, a lot of the tenets or the concepts around the Force, kind of go around that sort of, Buddhism and ancestry worship and all of the things that kind of go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what do you guys think about the duel itself?
I liked it.
I mean,
good opening statement, sir.
Crazy strong one to start with. And
big time.
I had problems with the first 2 after this because I was like, whoa, I would have maybe shown these in a different order, maybe because of how. But then I started to rewatch them because they were quite short and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found something to love about every one of them. But this one in particular, I loved the black and white. I loved the lone wolf and cub style thing going on. I loved the juxtaposition of the black and white against the lightsabers and blaster fire when that was color and
It
everything
was
else was black and
always
white, or sort of
there was
sepias tonally.
the way that they chose to interject color in this. It was very striking, and it wasn't just
Fantastic.
red. I mean, we get lots of that.
No.
We see it with with the what is that, lightsaber supreme? What do we call that? The ultimate party umbrella, was that?
Yes.
Yeah, umbrella, yeah. And it's just a
Umbrella
filter.
saber.
That's one of the cool things about that, is it's just a filter you pop on your lightsaber, which turns it into this. And I think my favorite thing is so minor. My favorite thing about this episode is the straw hat that the droid is wearing.
Yeah, Andy and I talked about that when we were
touch.
sitting here kind of
That's
pulling
so
the images
nice.
out. And I said that. Is that one lightsaber, or is that like 9? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you had said,
Right.
you suggested
An
that it was
attachment.
like a prism or something that had diffused it all the way out
Right.
to the
Yeah,
those
because
other
she
emitters.
pulls it off, or it gets knocked off.
Yeah,
It's just an object, and she has a single bladed lightsaber.
I found that to be like really, really cool. Talking more about the color here, I mean, look, there's a take on the old Death Star droid with the Gatling blaster.
Fantastic.
Old painless.
Yeah, old painless. Did you guys have any issues trying to place this one within sort of the timeline? I know it says that it's post kind of,
I didn't read anything about it, but I certainly saw the First Order Stormtrooper helmets, and then
I was going to say
of other things.
Yeah.
Smattering of other things. So if it places us anywhere in the timeline, we're certainly well after the fall of the Emperors in Rise of Skywalker. But these are ex-Stormtroopers from that, and we're even further in the future.
When we were doing the Bad Batch or the Fan Batch review series, and we were talking about animation and animation quality, and we were talking about frames per second, as I watched this episode, a lot of this episode, I actually questioned, is this rotoscoped? Is there some rotoscoping in this? Like how they did the Lord of the Rings cartoon, or Fire and Ice, and some of those other productions where, maybe there was some rudimentary acting that they just drew over top, because a lot of this, like the troops debarking their transport, and a lot of the ground battle itself looked like that's just too smooth, too fluid.
Well, I have two things, I think, and I hope there's maybe a gallery episode regarding these to give us some more insight. But I think that probably around 90% of every episode, certainly there were CG elements, but I think this is hand animated.
I kind of question that too.
And then the second thing, and this might be very controversial to people out in the crowd, but Japanese animators are just better than we are. They're amazing. They're amazing at what they do. They've been doing this for centuries, like nuts. You know what I mean? This is their bread and butter. I mean,
right.
Like, we're probably better at hockey than they are. These guys.
Fair statement.
It's so culturally, you know what I mean?
Ingrained in the culture.
And one little anecdote is I dropped out of second year animation school at Sheridan College, and I went to go back after working for a year. You want to make some money, then you went, I'm going to go back. And what they did was they opened the school to foreign submissions, because you really want the best of the world at your school, and it's one of the world's best animation schools. And I couldn't get in because I was literally competing with guys that had been animating for 20 years.
Well,
wanted to learn the North American style. These guys are the top class animators. And it would not surprise me at all to find that 90% of this was drawn by hand. Yeah.
Well, according to one website, apparently Kamikaze Douga prides itself as a half-breed studio. So they specialize in blending CG production and traditional 2D cell animation.
Totally see it.
So, a melding of both, and this is your result.
I'd still be curious to know if there's some rotoscoping in there, because it was just so. And I mean, you can say what you want about rotoscoping, because there's like really good uses of rotoscoping, i.e. the Lord of the Rings. And then there's the kind of hokey use of rotoscoping, i.e. Filmation, He-Man, Flash Gordon, etc., where they rotoscoped that, the running and some of the other kind of stuff that got recycled over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, some of the early, the new Star Wars run starting in 2015, the new Marvel comics, a lot, like maybe the first 20 issues are literally them drawing over photographs.
Oh, that's neat.
So is it or isn't it? And I like it, but it was quite controversial at the time.
What do we think about the Ronin character himself? What do we think of him?
I like it. It's interesting, mysterious.
Yeah.
I could definitely see us following, a series, just following this guy around, see what he does.
Well, the Ronin is getting a novel apparently, so we should be watching for that. And I should have maybe grabbed an image of that, but they've already shown the cover for it. So, does it challenge your idea of what is a Sith? And
I certainly was surprised to see him pull out a red blade.
I think we all were. And I mean, we can go back to the lightsaber discussion that we were having earlier and talk about sort of, where, philosophically speaking, where does this guy fall on the the light of darkometer? And I would say that he's still on the dark side. I mean, I don't know.
Sense if you were born into the Jedi Order and trained and raised in the Jedi Order and fell to the dark side, it would almost be empirical that it could go the other way too.
And we're gonna see that
into the good side
in a later episode. We're gonna see that.
Right. And then the other thing is with the kyber crystals, like, also the Jedi or the Sith idea that there can be, it's a rule of two, but literally there can be only one. So he's out there eliminating competition, perhaps. But then he does a good thing for the village. So, and
to the point where,
right. You get that line
the whole
Revenge of the Sith. And from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. So warding off evil is a matter of opinion.
There's some perspective there. Yeah, for sure there is. I just think it's cool that, again, the red lightsaber thing is so striking, and it clearly our I can't even tell you what her name is because it doesn't really have one. Our Sith villain is also caught off guard at the sight of a red lightsaber.
She fully expected a green or a blue.
Absolutely. So, when he's at the end when he goes to give the lightsaber,
the kyber crystal,
to the village elder, the boy, and gives him that whole speech about how it wards off evil. I'm like, what a cool character. I mean, is it not, correct me if I'm wrong, but canonically speaking, are Ahsoka Tano's white lightsabers not red kyber crystals that she's healed with the Force? She's repaired them? She's purified them?
Could that be the case here where he is a Sith Lord that is now...
He just hasn't bothered to...
And he's on his way.
This is what I mean. Like I feel like it's definitely a redemption path, but he's just hasn't gone... all the way. And again, of course, that whole idea of the Ronin, the masterless samurai that with a personal code, that's pretty freaking cool that he's out there walking around openly displaying a red lightsaber.
And you could interpret Dooku as a sort of having a personal vested interest in the power of the dark side, but not necessarily wanting to step through that Sith door kind of thing.
Right. And I mean, here's the guy maybe that just went that extra step further and is now on his way back. He's trying to pull it back.
And if we are in our timeline, maybe 5-10 years post Rise of Skywalker, certainly the Sith Eternal are probably scattered everywhere throughout the galaxy.
You would think so,
right?
I would think so. You made a I put a I got an image here somewhere. Did I not get the hat? We got the hat, didn't we? Or is it here?
I think we got one of the droid.
I thought we got one of him where he was just sitting there getting repaired. I think it's right here. There he is. So there's the straw hat thing. I got to point out once again, we talked about this. Notice right to the left of our astromech droid is
the most versatile droid in the universe.
So look at not only is this Gong droid hooked up as a power source, he's also running the hot plate that's boiling the water. It's hilarious after all the stuff that Gonky went through in the Bad Batch. But this astromech droid gets like arguably one of the most cool hero moments in the series when he rescues the villagers with this little I guess
Robotech style.
Micro missile barrage. Andy had said, what'd you say, Andy? Whistling birds?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so, eh?
Full missile salvo.
It's exactly what I thought at the same time. It's hard not to focus in on the elements of the lightsabers in this one, because like not only do we have the Mary Poppins saber umbrella, but we've got this idea that he's carrying two blades. He carried a long blade and a short blade, very much like a traditional samurai. We never did see the short blade, and in fact, we thought for a second it was the short blade in this scene where she actually gets her comeuppance, but it's
Right.
not. Strangely enough, the sword scabbard for his long blade is also a lightsaber, which I was like, wait a minute, that's really cool.
Yeah. They both wield it like it's always lit and it's inside a housing. Like, it's not
I actually
just hanging on your belt.
I contemplated that too. I'm like, is it on all the time? Is there some
That's what I
kind of
kind of got
crazy some kind of crazy thing that they just leave it on and it doesn't just melt through? What is that made
Can we
of?
make armor out of the scabbards?
Yeah, really.
Beskar scabbards.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
And then we get, as the episode closes, as the village has been saved, and we get that reveal that he's been, collecting kyber crystals, hands it off to the village, the chief there, and we get that, very samurai, there's your lone wolf and cub moment, Hank, as they kind of walk off into the distance. Yeah. So that was the duel. Definitely a high watermark. They come out very, very strong in that one. And then we move into what I actually, on my second time around, I actually really, really like this one. We get into Tatooine Rhapsody. And this one is by Studio Colorido. It is directed by Taku Kimura, and it is written by Yasumi Atarashi. Oh my God, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not offending anybody, and my apologies if I am. So, in a battle during the Clone Wars, a Jedi Padawan named Jay attempts to escape from the war, only to stumble upon a Hutt named Guy. Guy offers to take Jay in if he becomes the lead singer of Guy's rock band, Star Waver. And sorry, I couldn't help myself there. So Jay accepts, and years later, during the reign of the Galactic Empire, the members of Star Waver are hunted by none other than Boba Fett. Fett eventually captures Guy and reveals that Guy's relative, Jabba the Hutt, wishes to execute him due to Guy not wanting to be part of the family's crime syndicate. Jay inspires the other members of Star Waver to go to Tatooine and attempt to save Guy, and they manage to convince Jabba to let them play one more song together before Guy's execution. The song is loved by the audience, and Jabba ends up becoming the band's first sponsor.
Let's get the tail going there.
So, I mean, certainly this one is way, way more lighthearted. It doesn't start that way. I mean, that opening shot of the Phase 1 clones kind of facing the dirt with Jay clearly running for his life. And then...
which lets us think maybe this is right as Order 66
I feel like,
has been given.
I think so, because there's even that, like, there's that audio sort of montage of a bunch of like someone getting killed and somebody getting shot. I presume that Jay's master went down in a blaze of glory, and I presume this is him just making his escape from the clone army, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, what do? We hook up with Guy and the band. There they are, Star Waver, and what a cool. Overall, just a cool little episode. And the one thing I wanted to talk about in this episode is we've seen, like, it's one thing that Star Wars doesn't really focus a whole lot on. It's just like what the rest of the galaxy is doing. What does the average citizen do? And we've seen entertainment before in Star Wars. Like we saw them gambling on Canto Bight, and we saw, an opera on Coruscant with the Emperor.
We've seen the Cantina Band.
Well, this is it, right? And to see like a full-on rock concert like that is just like, reminds us that Star Wars is more than just, space wizards and laser swords, right?
Right.
And yet there is a laser sword in this one too, so it's still good. Anybody?
This one had arguably the biggest voice actor, the biggest.
I was just going to talk about that. Yeah. So we by now, if you haven't figured it out, the voice actor portraying, or the actor portraying Jay is none other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So it's kind of cool that he gets to exercise some chops there. Gets a couple songs in on this one. We got
it's funny too, because you could see the Japanese original lyrics translated into English, and he's singing. It's strange. The lyrics are a little strange. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, it's that whenever you listen to that translated theme song from your favorite anime, it's always a
it never makes sense.
Strange lyrics. And so it was a sort of, I don't know if it was a nod on purpose to that or if there was a direct translation from the Japanese, but that was kind of my funniest. I enjoyed that bit. I really wasn't drawn to this episode much at all.
Really?
Yeah.
The first time around, it was kind of like, it made me smile, but I was just like, yeah, okay, on with the next, give me some more like sword stuff. But really sitting back and watching it again. And I mean, I wasn't taking notes when I watched it the second time around. It was like, I just want to be fresh so that we could have this conversation today. But I really enjoyed this, like way more than I did the first time around. I think maybe because I was just maybe a little more thoughtful towards what was happening, but like, you know, the anime is good for this, and particularly children's shows. My granddaughter's over this weekend, and when I went home yesterday, they were watching the My Little Pony movie, and I was thinking about, you know, the new My Little Pony and how like the message of friendship and is predominant throughout. And then I started watching this, and I'm like, man, this is almost superfluous that way, where, you know, the band is so inspired, you know, by their friendship that they're going to risk their lives to go and save their friend. Right. What a great message.
Is, central crux of Star Wars, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But even stylistically, it kind of works, right? Because it is a more kid-friendly animation style.
Yes, yeah.
You know, definitely. The heads are a little. You see the size of Boba Fett's head on him. He looked like a bobblehead, right?
There's been a line lately of action figures coming out of Japan.
Yeah,
and they are highly stylized with the larger head, the smaller body, and this would be a great fit for that.
I guess so. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I did watch the Boba Fett armor because I was like, is that a new paint job? Is there a dent in the helmet? I was trying to play the sort of story in time a little bit. I did that with every one of them actually. So
I like this episode that we actually got to see some other characters that we were familiar with. Particularly, we did actually get to see the Cantina Band actually shows up in a scene, and we got to see in the special. Can I even call it the special edition anymore? I guess it's the current version of Star Wars when they redid Return of the Jedi, when they redid the Max Rebo Band sequence. They added a new female dancer. She's got some crazy she's in there.
Yes, I saw that.
And then of course the, you know, Old Faithful. I mean, we get an appearance by Jabba using some of the original Jabba dialogue from Jedi.
Bib Fortuna's
in there, yeah.
We get some Gamorrean guards.
It's
the only episode that strayed into characters that we're familiar with too.
Yeah, and
on top of that, Tamira Morrison back as Boba
Well,
Fett.
that's the other thing too, right?
Yeah.
Unmistakable. We're at Mos Espa.
Maybe because they're in front of another pod race.
I mean, well, this is it. Is this like a you know how like
pre-show?
Yeah,
or like
or
the halftime show.
Is this the halftime show at the?
That's a good gig if you can get a halftime show at a pod race. That's a pretty good gig.
At the Bunta Eve Classic.
That'd be a bigger band. That's pretty cool.
Do we think Jay actually turned his lightsaber into a microphone?
Yes.
I like the idea when he tried to ignite it. It was like, oh shit!
And it fizzled out.
I need new D batteries or something. Yeah. Or we could, you know, dive. Is he that disconnected from the Force that it's just?
I had the same questions as well. Do we think that Jay has abandoned, you know, his former life as a Jedi completely in favor of I'm going to be a rock star?
Possibly.
Yeah.
You know how many? You know, Hank, you as a somebody who is passionate about music, who is a music creator, can appreciate. You know, like you've wanted to make music since you were a teenager. You know, that is a lifelong thing. And I mean, if it hits in the right way, like the difference between making music in your garage versus making music, you know, for millions of people.
It can't eclipse the rest of your life if you let it. So I can understand him going, Jedi are cool, but I get this weird feeling off of music. And it's actually, I imagine it's for a lot of musical artists or even regular artists, you've got to temper your real life because it's easy to just dive deep into that and forget the rest of it. Oh, Ahsoka. I just knocked Ahsoka over. Oh, Ahsoka.
We get a nice I forgot about this, but we get a nice moment going back to Boba Fett for a minute. We get a really, really cool shot of Slave One here chasing them down.
Mm.
The other thing I liked about this, and I don't think we get an image of it. No, that's just Boba watching them escape. Their, I guess we can call it space truck.
Doubles as a stage.
Their space truck is also the stage.
Yeah.
They just roll up with the menu, open the doors.
So
and
I
go.
was thinking that was a nod to the old Ewoks cartoon. And
Oh,
now
really?
not a spaceship that turns into a stage. But do you remember, I don't know if either of you have even watched it on Disney since it's been back out, but there's a couple of episodes where there was a troupe of actors that came through the forest and stopped and their traveling circus, if you will, was on this creature that would become the stage. They all lived there,
that's
but then
interesting.
it reminded me of that kind of thing where you perform where you live, but you bring your living with
think
you
of
to your performance.
the what is it? I don't want to say old timey, but I mean really
The
like
circus train.
Think back to like Wizard of Oz, right? Where everything, or the typical charlatan salesman, where it's literally rolls up with a horse-drawn wagon, flips open the sides, and dun, 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 or traveling. I know it's really not kind of popular now, but go back far enough, like traveling puppet theater.
Right.
You know,
Lauren's got a great
sort of
idea for the next HalCon, if things go according to it actually gets off the ground. And that's she wants to sell. She makes steampunk goggles and that type of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
But she wants to dress up like a cigarette girl from the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Walk around with a tray. Selling stuff instead of having a booth. Like,
wow.
That's that would be. I think that
not only does it satisfy your cosplay need, but also your vendor need.
Right, and so it's kind of the same vein, bringing your stage with you while you go.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think it was Bed Knobs and Broomsticks where they first meet the traveling doctor and his case. He puts down the legs, and then the whole thing just
flips out. Yeah.
It's like the dentist from Django.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Like the big tooth.
Yeah. That's super, super cool. So, I mean, overall, for me, totally endearing this episode. I love the idea of seeing, other aspects of the Star Wars universe where it's just life from ostensibly everyday citizens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I did like that it was a straightforward kind of grunge rock song, and that they weren't trying to be too space or like crazy notes or some arpeggio that doesn't resonate. The fact that it was something that we could all groove to.
They don't even. What was the name of the instrument that the whatever the thing that Woody Harrelson is like, I'm gonna go, the Valacord. They weren't trying to make it like crazy. They weren't trying to Star Wars it up.
Right.
The bass guitar had 4 strings, the lead guitar had 6 strings, the drums looked like drums,
except they were like tripled up for him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can we talk about him for a second? Do we have a shot of him? Must be in here. Talk about our drummer. He's a 3-torsoed alien creature. Now, that to me, I cannot think of any other time we've seen anything like this.
No,
certainly not in Star Wars.
There. Yeah.
So part of the there was some talk early on when this was coming out, sort of from the fan community, that this might be Star Wars take on What If. So even though they've said that this isn't canonical, does this not, in your mind, open up other storytelling opportunities where, hey, maybe we'll see a 3-torso dude show up in a live action thing?
Maybe.
Yeah. And a lot of people on the internet have been talking about it too. That this is proof that Star Wars can work out of canon. So we can have a one-shot movie about whatever the hell you want, and it could work.
I completely agree with that.
It doesn't have to be connected to everything else. Like, we like that, we love that, but we also could separate ourselves and just have a one shot. And this is sort of proof of purpose.
And literally, they've just connected it by like Jabba, Bib Fortuna, and your regulars on Tatooine.
Right. Yeah.
But that's it. Those are and they're just there because that's where they're there.
Yeah, exactly. So we close out the episode with, Jabba, we're going to give you one chance to be our first sponsor. And then the crowd gets worked up and they're like, one more song. And the band goes off and gets to play one more song, which is kind of cool.
So
one of the other
it kind of wraps up the episode, though, right? Because like in
It
the
does.
beginning, they're like, we've
Fade to
never
black.
been able to finish a set.
They-
because
yeah,
the
they've-
bounty hunters always catch up.
not only have they never finished a set, they even talk about they've never played anything this big.
Yeah.
So, it's a double whammy for them.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. I mean, if you were a young kid, because let's face it, I mean, they're all young for, their respective spots within the episode. That whole thing about dreaming about, I'm going to be a star one day. I'm going to be a music star one day.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. The other big tropey thing in this is, and I think we've seen it before, a hut that goes against type, that does not want to be part of the crime syndicate.
That's right.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And like sort of thematically different. Like
Yeah.
Jabba looked very much like Jabba, but Guy had the big weird eyes pushed together in the center,
Shoved together, big
and
mop
we've
of
seen
hair.
stylized huts before with Zero and
Yeah, oh,
things
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to see there's a little bit of variation across the species.
All right. So that kind of puts a wrap on Tatooine Rhapsody. Then we move into arguably one of the weirdest and, can I dare say, wonderful episodes
I
of
would say so.
the series.
This is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, so we get into the twins here now. So Trigger, I don't know anything about them, but this one's called The Twins, directed by Hiroyuki Imashi and written by Hiromi Wakabayashi. And so in the aftermath of the Empire's defeat, the remnant of the Imperial military begin the construction of two conjoined star destroyers that house a large super laser capable of destroying planets. Using Sith alchemy, they are also able to create two force-sensitive biological twins named Kare and Am, who they then train in the dark side of the Force. The twins eventually become the leaders of the remnant and plan to use their super weapon to destroy the New Republic. However, Kare goes rogue on the day that the weapon is supposed to be fired due to him having a vision of the future involving his sister's death. He also steals the large Kyber crystal that powers the super weapon. Am confronts Kare outside of the Star Destroyer in space, and they duel. During the battle, the crystal is split in half, and Am uses a piece to power a metal exoskeleton. Using his X-Wing and the power of hyperspace, Kare is able to destroy Am's sliver of the crystal and the super laser. He then crash lands on Tatooine and vows to rescue his sister from the dark side. There is a lot thematically going on in this.
There is.
We've talked about it before when we were doing we were talking in our Order 66 series and talking about sort of the connection, and this is stuff that they touched on when they were writing the sequel trilogy, the twins, the Force twins, the Ashen and the Bogan.
Right.
All those concepts come full circle here, and it's like, the Ashla and the Bogan, I should say. That's not wrong the first time. But the whole diametrically opposed, one is good, one is evil, can't have one without the other. Lots of sequel trilogy vibe in this. A lot of sound effects were very sequel trilogy. I know that a lot of the saber signature sounded like the Kylo Ren, the dirty saber, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Unstable.
What'd you guys think of this episode?
I liked it. I like that it deviates from your normal. Like it
Big
sets
time.
aside, like you really have to suspend disbelief at this point because like they're fighting, unarmored in space.
Yeah, you know what? And we talked about this sort of offline previously, and I'll say this once again, for good or for bad, the sequel trilogy established that maybe this isn't so far off for Star Wars when Princess Leia was able to, through the Force, was able to save herself.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
And these two are shown to be like crazy powerful,
wickedly powerful,
Powerful, yeah.
like Starkiller powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's two things that sort of stood out for me in this, and they're not. One of them isn't necessarily like even about the show, but in the weirdest way, the character's ability to ride on the outside of an X-wing and cut a Star Destroyer in half with a lightsaber, while traveling through hyperspace, lets me know that Ezra Bridger is actually still alive. That, for whatever reason, this is the canonization of Ezra Bridger can breathe without a
yeah, exactly, because
a windshield.
I was going to say, if you'd forgotten sort of that finale of Rebels, I mean, that the windscreen, the viewport on that ship, it was destroyed, like it was exposed to atmosphere. So,
and the other thing is a sort of an Easter egg to the Jonathan Daly novel, A Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is the idea that you could run a power suit off a kyber crystal.
Yes.
And the premise of that novel is Vader trying to find a kyber crystal to integrate into his, because it'll give him 10 times the Force ability.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the first time we get Force lightning in any Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Vader wielding Force lightning in a Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
It's also
I thought that was a really cool nod to that.
Yeah. It is the origin of the term kyber crystal. Only in that novel, it's a singular thing. It's a Force relic. It's not a naturally occurring mineral that can be mined. Right. But as you say, it amplifies Force ability like exponentially. Mm-hmm. It's also the novel where Princess Leia actually has a go at Vader and cuts his arm off.
Right. Yeah.
And if you've never read it before, you should read it. And I say this, I know we're getting aside here, but The Splinter of the Mind's Eye was written at a time when they didn't know that there were going to be any other Star Wars movies. So they actually write the book with this undertone that the romantic relationship is actually between Luke and Leia.
It is.
So it's kind of neat that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then read it and then send John Daly $5 for God's sakes.
Brian Daly.
Brian Daly.
That's right.
John Daly's a different guy. Yeah, send Brian Daly money. Disney shat on that guy.
Loved the armor. Did you guys like the armor in this?
Tony Stark, man. Like the idea that Iron Man can be powered by a kyber crystal. What if Star Wars and Marvel? Come on, guys, let's do it.
Yeah. I love the heavy Vader influence on both suits.
Big time.
Yeah. It's curious though, like what's the predilection with the Vader thing? Like with Kylo Ren, it was, you're my grandfather, I'm going to finish what you started. I kind of, follow in your footsteps. But what is it with these two? They're just a creation. They're biologically or they're essentially they're clones
created out of the Dark Force.
I guess so.
There's a culture though, if you canonize any of the Darth Bane or the Darth Revan stuff, there's a culture of the Sith wearing masks, which I find is neat, because in a few episodes we're going to turn that on its head.
Yeah. So are we saying that this is just a visual thing for us to make that connection? Because that I mean is very Vader-esque, right down to the chest box and the triangular snout.
And also the Japanese influence of the armor and the idea that, and the anime influence of the bad guy being ominous and all these things.
Yeah.
It's layered and it's classic and it certainly works.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at that. Do we have shots of the duel out on the
We do have a couple.
Yeah, let's take a look at that and talk about that for a minute, because that's certainly the high point of the episode, when they finally decide that they can't. He's not going to get away because she's essentially pulled him back with the Force, trying to pull the crystal back.
There's where it kicks off. He gets kind of cornered by the entire Force there.
Yeah.
And then she's going to take it by force. But I didn't get a shot of it before, but there's a scene right before this where he uses the Force to just
blows the armor right off him. So here's the thing, right? I mean, they talk about the armor being powered by kyber and other episodes in this, particularly the one that we're going to talk about with the changing lightsaber colors.
Yeah.
Red is bad and blue and green and other colors are generally good. Like, is that a reflection of like the character within?
Maybe.
Almost like the kyber crystal is fueling the evil within the character, right? Where he's, come out of it. Kind of ironic that they both have white hair though.
Yes.
It doubles down on the idea that there's a symbiotic relationship between the lightsaber and the wielder.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right. They kind of, even though she's not technically a Force wielder, when Sabine becomes more familiar with the darksaber, she notices the weight changes.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
So something symbiotic between the crystal and the wielder, possibly.
I think so. Want to go? Let's have a look at the twins. There, that's her. That's Am trying to recover the crystal, trying to rip it out of the X-wing,
and she's literally just pulling the crystal.
Yeah, nothing else.
So.
Ironically, she can stand in the thrust of an X-wing.
Yeah, and pull it back.
Unfortunately, you know, I mean, Crosshair could have learned something from her.
True.
Right. Right.
Let's go to the
I
next
don't want
one.
these two in my regular Star Wars because it's over if they are.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this for a second. Notice on the right-hand side, we have Kare, who's essentially our good guy, and he is using a traditional display of Force Lightning.
Blue Force Lightning.
Well, this is it. The traditional Force Lightning is blue, or white-centered, blue-rimmed,
Right.
as we first saw in Return of the Jedi.
And side note here, another big name, NPH.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right.
Patrick
Yes, Neil
Harris
Patrick
voicing
Harris.
him.
That's correct. Yes, you're right. Allison Brie, and yeah, and John Lepow.
Jonathan
John
Lipow.
Lipow, yeah. What's the deal here? What's going on here? Because the whole I mean, is this again just a visual thing, good versus evil?
I would think so.
Do you think so? And maybe it's just
yeah, and
as
it's
fans.
super classic that like that looks like a poster for The Last Jedi. You know how
It
thematically
totally
they
could
were
be. Oh yeah,
right. You know what I mean? Like they doubled down on the red versus blue, if you will, which is
Yeah.
just very zeitgeist and stuff. So
Well, her still in her dark armor and
That's right.
surrounded by the Sith red.
And he's
Right.
completely shredded it, and
Yeah.
now is just full on.
but it makes sense that born of the dark side, he could still wield lightning.
Still, well, I mean, and Rey is our conduit to that, where she inadvertently did it without even trying.
Hey, Yoda
Right,
did it back in
right.
Attack of the Clones too, though.
He redirected.
He caught and threw back.
Yeah. I mean, this is
Yeah.
clearly he's generating that.
That's right. Yeah.
But then you get that feedback loop, right? And clearly that with the armor being powered by Kyber,
Must be.
it's got to be painful.
Yo.
Ouch.
Yeah, but once she manages to integrate that half of the crystal into her armor, they're doing some crazy stuff with
Well,
it.
this is just it. I mean, lightsabers now we can do lightsaber whips as role-playing game enthusiasts. What's the craziest thing you can do with a lightsaber? And I gotta say, lightsaber whip is right up there.
Yo.
Yeah, it's pretty mental. Yeah.
Is it as mental though, as you say, as riding the nose of an X-wing and slashing a conjoined Star Destroyer in half?
Yeah,
And
I
that
mean,
scene, it echoes right out of Last Jedi.
It's totally the Holdo maneuver with
Yeah.
a lightsaber.
right. Yeah.
I gotta say though, I liked it. I really did like it.
But at the same
was
time,
dope.
like the surgical precision he took in that shot, because like yes, he's cutting the Star Destroyer
Yep.
in half, but he just does enough to like ching and take the
Right.
crystal
What I
over.
found interesting in
And
this
his lightsaber is like 300 feet long.
this is
too.
it. Like the connection between the wielder and the saber clearly in this particular one is intrinsically linked, because to be able to like push the blade to that length, it looked like a gout of blue flame, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had to say that I did enjoy this one.
Hmm.
And then we kind of round this one out with Kare sitting on Tatooine staring at the twin suns, and he makes his vow that he's
save her.
going to rescue her at some point or save her. I guess
It's like, how the
ostensibly
hell
save
did he
her from
land like
herself.
that?
Well,
That's a great landing. Like,
I think he may have rolled it a few times and come up that way. Maybe, I don't know.
I'll accept that. There you go.
Got to save her from herself, I guess.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then so that brings us to, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I have to say right now, Village Bride, that's my favorite episode. This is my favorite episode of the entire thing. Still my favorite episode, even after the rewatch.
It's a great episode.
It is a great episode. You know what I really like about this episode is that we've talked about it before, but we've talked about alternate force using traditions, and we get exposed to one right in this episode. You know, that they have it's clearly the force, but it's a very different connection, that it's the whole living in harmony with the natural world and how they are able to influence it, and it influences them. Thought that's so cool. So years after the Great Jedi Purge, a fallen Jedi named F is drawn to a remote planet by an explorer named Valko. Valko explains that bandit raiders have reprogrammed old separatist battle droids and are holding a village hostage. The village chief's daughter, Haru, and her fiancé, Asu, intend to surrender to the bandits as collateral the following morning. while Haru's sister Saku wants to fight the bandits. The next morning, the bandits reveal that they have captured Saku and attempt to execute her, but F and Vulko intervene and kill all the bandits. F then departs the planet. This one, it's directed by Hitoshi Haga, and it is written by Takahito Onishi and Hitoshi Haga. So yeah, super cool episode. Get to see this F, this essentially Jedi Padawan, and we can assume she's a Padawan by the braid that she will eventually cut off, hanging out with Valko, who initially who he was or his relationship to her wasn't immediately clear.
No,
a little vague.
Yeah, but still has that, fits that wiser mentor kind of role for her.
Turning the trope of the mask on its
head as well,
too.
What do we think of this one overall?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Really.
The fight scene was dynamic.
I absolutely loved it. I loved the idea that we explored sort of some of the themes of this in our fan batch review about seeing the post-war from multi perspectives, depending on the world, a Republic world versus a Separatist world.
Yeah.
And here we are where some backwater planet that doesn't mean anything to the war effort, but these bandits have capitalized on what's left over.
Separatist droids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. And you could have rotoscoped over the Separatist droids in this episode, because they were there was no stylization to them all. They were like drawn straight from
they were like straight up like B1 battle droid. B1 B1 battle droids.
Wonderful.
But it is kind of weird that everybody on this planet though is connected. Like they all have that connection.
They have that rudimentary connection to the land.
Yeah.
I mean, they even go to so far. Haku, the sister, or Saku, when she says that she wants to fight them, and she says the land is on our side.
Yeah.
Like, does she know that? Does she really feel that?
Well, when they go up there to seal their vows and whatnot, and they're given that vision of the planet crumbling.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the world telling them, don't just give up.
What I find really challenging in this one is that the village elder has her father has basically he's going to allow it. Like, you want to surrender to them to save the whole village? Okay. I'm like, what kind of dad are you?
Yeah. Especially when she's like, I'm taking his place.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you let the older one go.
Well, it's kind of tropey that usually it's not that way. It's like we saw it in the movie Dragon Slayer, where they were offering up sacrifices to the dragon, but the king had kept the daughter's name out of the lottery for her entire life.
Right.
So when she finally goes, she's fixed the lottery so that it's only her name on every lottery tile. It's usually that's the trope. It's the people of privilege are protected because of the influence that they have, and in this one, Dad's like, sure.
Yeah,
sure, you can go.
Well, it's similar to Clash of the Titans, where Andromeda is like chosen as the king's daughter to be sacrificed to
the Kraken.
The Kraken, yeah. But you see them chilling at the wedding reception. And
did you get a shot of the bandits themselves?
I did get that. I got them just as they're laying down fire and stealing droids.
So here's a good. I wish we had another shot of this. Big Easter egg moment in this one. Did you guys catch the Knights of the Old Republic Easter egg in this episode?
I did not.
The ship that they get off, the ship that they are come on, is essentially the Ebon Hawk.
Yes. Well, yeah. It's definitely my favorite ship in the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big Carillion ship. I mean, the top down.
It's like some kind of YT, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a Carillion engineering corporation ship, but it's like, with the big square bull nose on it. And I'm like, that's the Ebon Hawk, which is essentially
ship at the end was pretty dope too.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Highly modified, I might add. Z95 Headhunter, the precursor.
Z95 Headhunter.
Precursor to the X-wing fighter, does not come standard with a hyperdrive, but clearly she's modified it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Aftermarket parts.
We get to the fight here at the end where she finally we learn that her master is actually from this world.
Yeah, he has roots there.
Yeah,
but there is the precursor to the fight, which is Saku throwing down her shawl in disapproval.
She's like super peeved.
Yeah, but apparently it doesn't work for her because she gets captured.
Right, and so then we have that moment where, in execution style, bandit leader's about to draw down on her, and we get that the Kylo Ren moment where the blaster bolt's just frozen midair,
and not only does she freeze it, she throws it back at him
after she has a whole monologue.
Yeah.
Which is like so villain, but I'm like, that's awesome that the hero is just gonna I'm gonna tell you a whole little monologue. Cuts her braid off, and then flips it back at him, which was super cool.
And then
without killing him too, she just disarms him with it.
Yeah. And then don't forget Mecha Boots.
Yes.
Her little Mecha Boots as she digs in for the charge.
Laura's favorite moment of the whole show.
Oh, really? The charge?
Yeah. The Mecha Boots. She was
Mecha
like,
Boots,
I love the shoes. I want the shoes.
Yeah. And there again, so as we mentioned earlier, the profile of the lightsabers throughout this series, very much yellow lightsaber. So let's talk about yellow. Let's talk about saber colors for a minute. And yellow, certainly in Legends, I don't think we have. No, we do have a canonical appearance with Rey's homemade staff saber is yellow.
Okay.
But the idea of a yellow lightsaber kind of crept up in Legends, again in Knights of the Old Republic, and yellow is typically associated as the color of Jedi Sentinels. Jedi Sentinels and Jedi Temple Guards.
If you had the toy before you saw the movie when you were a kid, yellow lightsabers are totally, that's how it was, man. Even Obi-Wan on the box, the actual image of Obi-Wan on the original, his lightsabers yellow.
On the packaging,
On the packaging,
I'll tell you this, I had both of those figures, and I'm not going to lie, I often pulled the blade out of Obi-Wan's arm and shoved it into Luke's. It just made more sense, No, Obi-Wan's going to die partway through the movie, so he's not going to be needing this anymore. But F is such a cool character, especially when she the idea, again, alternate force using tradition. So she's a masterless Padawan. She cuts her braid off, so she's just now, it's not like she's making herself a knight, but she's abandoning that idea of I'm not a student anymore, and maybe there's room for her to go off in an alternate force using tradition and develop skills that we've never seen before. So just that whole the exploration of that character, coming to terms with being a loner in the galaxy and not having the tutelage of a master or a parental figure that is so common.
Vibes from her.
Yes,
from her, for sure.
Yes, very much. So like super cool character, and for that reason, this one is like I said, it's my favorite episode.
Well, you do have a sort of parent type thing in the
Valko. In Valko, I suppose
like
so.
The entire episode, he's kind of like goading her. Come on, get off! Like you've been on the back bench for long enough. Get up and do something.
I kind of wondered, could that have been her master? Like I know they
initially that's what I thought too.
But I thought like a pseudonym or a veil or
with the big trash can helmet. I'm like, what's he scanning for? What's he looking for?
Pretty much like a medieval knight.
Almost, yeah.
And that thing was multi-purpose too.
As it rocketed into what you were wearing that on your head the whole time?
I thought that. What if you push the wrong button?
How dangerous is that?
Just taking it off and you're dead.
Well, that too, and he's got multiples of them because at the end of
the
episode,
he's got another one. Yeah. What did he rebuild it from the wreckage of the ship?
Oh, he's got a stockpile.
Maybe it's Beskar. Maybe he just went picked it up from the wreckage of the ship, popped it back on.
Oh, there you go.
He had to hammer it back into shape though.
Awesome. Bring me my anvil,
Lord. All right, where are we now?
We are coming up on episode 5.
Episode 5.
Ninth Jedi.
My favorite episode.
This one's got a lot of cool things going on in it. So what's this one? This one's directed by Kenji Kamiyama and written also by him, Kenji Kamiyama. So many generations after the Jedi Order had become mostly extinct, Margrave Juro, the Jedi ruler of the planet Islan, invites 7 Jedi 7 Jedi, to his aerial temple in order to receive lightsabers whose design has been lost to time. A Jedi named Ethan arrives at the temple and meets the other 6 Jedi. They are then greeted by Jiro's droid, who presents the first lightsaber to Ethan and promises that the others will arrive shortly. On the planet's surface, the sabersmith La Jima finishes constructing the other 7 lightsabers, including one for his teenage Force-sensitive daughter, La Kara. Suddenly, hunters working for the Sith arrive and capture Zima as Kara escapes with the lightsabers. Kara finds transportation to the temple and presents the lightsabers to the other 6 Jedi, who reveal themselves to actually be Sith members wishing to assassinate Jiro. As the Sith close in around Ethan and Kara, Jiro's droid reveals itself actually to be Jiro in disguise, and he helps them defeat the Sith. Alongside one member of the Sith who turn to the light side, Kara and Ethan join the ranks of Jiro's new Jedi Order and set off on a quest to find Zima, who is being held on a Sith-occupied planet. This, above all, maybe the Ronin, obviously, or the duel, but this, I think, is another one that could work as a standalone, whether a series or a comic series, or hell, let's just do a whole animated series on just this.
Well, they definitely leave it open enough to continue the story.
Yeah. Visually, this one probably has the is what I would say is most appealing to me visually in the anime that I've gravitated towards. As a kid,
It's that
Battle
Princess
Planet.
Mononoke style. It's like
Yeah.
Ghibli.
Yeah, I really dig this one.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think of this one overall?
My favorite, and I'll tell you why, not because of like the surface stuff. My favorite because we got a planet that things originated on. We got an ethereal being that has a plan for a major event that's happening. Then we get an individual hero. We get we get the setup and fulfillment. We get 2 twists. Yeah, and we get a crazy battle at the end. This one is more rooted in Star Wars for me than it ticks all the boxes for me for Star Wars.
Yeah,
and that's why it was my favorite. It felt like the other ones were cool, but they felt a little bit like samurai wielding swords. While this felt like a Star Wars animation more than the other ones to me.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I can certainly appreciate that interpretation too. Like, it definitely fits.
Just the way that we started out with, like, here's the planet, here's the guy, here's his plan, here we go. And I was like, oh, that's the crawl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a stronger narrative than all the rest. All the rest had their story, don't get me wrong, but this had the strongest, straightforward narrative.
I like, when we were doing the Fandalorian series, and we were really we were just popping when we were seeing like alternative uses of technology, like the AT-ATs being modified into like gantry, like cranes and stuff. We just love that stuff.
Oh yeah.
What did you guys think of the mining cable, the trebuchet mining cables from the planet's surface?
Fishing in space.
Yeah. Space fishing.
Cool. Space fishing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the idea, right? We're like live on Earth. We're starting to send satellites to objects in space and bringing back material. So, and it's a gateway to mining in space. And so it's neat. Yeah, I love it.
So it speaks to, and I don't want to get too caught, because again, space wizards and laser swords, but it speaks pretty cool to the idea that Kyber must be really, 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 really dense, that it didn't burn up on entry. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that's really cool.
Some fantastical, mystical sort of properties for sure.
The idea that there is what do you think of the idea that there is a guy out there whose sole purpose in life is just to build lightsabers?
And that's a very Japanese take on sword building, right?
Swordsmithing,
the Hattori Hanzo.
From
the Kill Bill movies. That's very like that. The idea that not just a Jedi can create it, but that it's so highly specialized that only one guy out of a myriad.
That it's a lost art form, and that only this guy can do it. It's not lost on me that in this scene where he basically, finishes the last one, turns it on, and it's immediately blue. Like, oh, right. You're a Force user,
right? Which is because you see him wield the Force, and she's surprised later. But
that's right, yeah.
And one of my favorite things about this episode is just a small thing, is that when the lightsabers change hands, there's an immediate connection between. It's almost like a USB. There's an immediate connection between the Force user and the kyber crystal, so it changes colors instantly.
And
It
that's
even
kind of
changes
where
colors
we
mid wielding depending on where you stray.
right. And that kind of deviates from the canonical sort of way that we understand lightsabers being a highly personal thing. So what a cool concept that it's
I really
he has
like
built them to be this way.
do you want to, I guess we can call them the variable maybe, because he even says like color and blade length will change depending on the wielder.
Yeah, so he is
and then
to his own design.
Yeah.
And when she first picks up the blade that he hands her, which was
it's
just
kind
blue,
of green, but it's mostly transparent.
Yeah,
right. It's like a little dark saber-esque, and then the blade, the length. She's like, "Am I controlling that? Is it just happening?" And then I assumed that by that she was an outstanding Force user. But then she was like, I guess my connection's not good enough yet. One day it'll be a solid color.
Right.
Like, but I just figured it. She was better like that. Like, isn't a sort of almost invisible variable length lightsaber cooler? Like,
it certainly visually speaking, it is cool
in the battle, like where her powers probably, they flourish.
Very much so.
The variable length thing goes back to the twins, right? With
I was going to say
it from a lightsaber to a blowtorch.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this episode actually shows us that there is some relationship to the rest of the anthology.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the variable length thing comes from the Return of the Jedi novel you have there. I believe Vader's lightsabers are variable length in that novel.
Yeah.
Or it could harken back to the Power of the Force figures, where some of them came with longer sabers. And
well, that is true.
It's true. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Yoda's lightsaber is scaled for his size. So
right.
So yeah, I mean, we've got a guy here who basically is, our swordsmith. We've got the daughter of the swordsmith who's now been entrusted to get the swords to where they need to go, because our bandits, who are agents of this budding Sith Empire, have shown up to stop this.
Stop it or take him to make their own Sith sabers.
Yeah.
I love droids and clothes. It's crazy.
Are they droids? Are they droids or are they armored people?
Could be, yeah. Either way,
definitely
the image, like the cloak and the hats, of that bounty hunter from Clone Wars.
Yeah. We've talked about him before, and his name is escaping me at the moment.
Yeah, me too, actually. Bad hosts.
But there you get her almost transparent lightsaber as she cuts through one of the bike things that are chasing her.
Somebody who said that, her skills or her connection isn't that great is pretty agile when she's ripping across that ice, that lake at breakneck speed, leaps off of a moving speeder bike, slides it out, and then is able to dash at a charging speeder.
Runs right at him. Fantastic. And I never once, and maybe it's just that I'm more used to strong female characters in animation, because that's always been a thing. Like that was never not a thing in animation in anime. I don't get any Mary Sue vibes or any complaints about this like the people had with Rey. This works super, super well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think she man, the role that she fits for this episode as I don't want to call her the messenger, is that right? The messenger? The courier?
She's the courier. There you go. Yeah,
she takes it very seriously, and she does her job, and yet still leans into those anime tropes when she gets to the droids, where she's and it comes through an anime like the whiny kid thing, like, come on, you're the only command.
And it's the classic hero myth too. She steps out of her comfort zone and she's thrust into a world that's much bigger than she realizes, and she has to cope with that. It's very Joseph Campbell. I love this episode, man.
Yeah.
That droids have a sense of humor in this one, or at least an overt. We get the joke in it. I mean, here you are on presumably this world must be cold all the time, because I just assume that droid is ingesting hot fluids to keep from freezing up.
Otherwise, since when did droids start drinking coffee?
Well, this is what I mean. Like, you look at
it's gotta be hot oil, right? Like scene from A New Hope.
You look at the rack of other droids beside him, and I just assume that they've just shut down because they couldn't stay warm.
Yeah,
and I assume
maybe we got Futurama fans. Maybe that's alcohol.
They're all related to Bender.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd do it. That's perfect.
Quit touching my stuff.
Bender,
back, baby.
Fender, Lender, Gender. It's his brothers.
Yeah, she gets them, and he takes her off to the space temple.
Like the vibes of the temple. I mean, there's some Tatooine in there with the shape of the tower on the left hand side there. The broken dome thing. That's kind of weird.
Is the dome made of kyber crystal?
I don't know what it's made out of, but again, here we are with that. We can breathe in a vacuum.
space.
Yeah.
We get the other kid though, the Ethan, and he's got the message from the Margrave.
That I thought was cool. That the Margrave has sent out these
little invitation discs, basically.
I guess I would call them pucks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of a acceptable term now. Sends these pucks out to however many corners of the galaxy. Now, it almost sounds like like you said, they're invitations, so that they were sent to specific people. How powerful is the Margrave
to sense that force far away?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then sense their mailing address.
Yeah, but then we get one of our twists as
everybody's handed a saber, and
Ethan is like, "Can I hold it?" And just fortunately that stays
he's
with
the one
him.
that takes.
It stays with him. Yeah.
Because when he fires it up, it goes blue.
Yeah, it's totally blue.
When La Cara hands out the rest of them, and you get the
right,
reveal.
and she talks about knowing the Margrave for her entire life. Oh, you know the Margrave? Do you know where he is?
And then they all turn.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not turn, but reveal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that does not look like a square dance I want to be in.
No,
that was a twist. I didn't see it coming.
Neither did I.
And one of the things about the twists in these too, I have to say, is that my expectations weren't stacked. You know what I mean? I was fairly open to everything, so the twists resonated. Whereas with something that you're well versed in, you might pick apart the twist. You might thought, I've got a better twist. But with nothing invested in any of these things, these twists really worked, especially this episode.
Big time. Yeah.
And then the other thing, like with your Darth Mauls and your Anakins and whatnot, when they're fully turned and their eyes go.
Yes.
None of these guys, their eyes haven't gone yet. But is that just because we're post Jedi Order or whatever, and they're not as strongly connected to the dark side?
I don't know.
Or maybe they're still trying to prove their worth to the dark side. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, the idea of being dark versus being Sith, I think that's sort of the I think we can safely say is a Sith trait, not necessarily a dark sider trait.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look at I'd have to go back because off the top of my head, I don't remember any of the Inquisitors did they have yellow eyes as well?
The Grand Inquisitor. The Grand
Inquisitor did, yeah. Interesting. So maybe there's some gray area there where it's not 100% explained. But does it have to be?
No. I mean,
no.
Then it would be Star Trek.
Yeah. So then what? We get
the Margrave.
I was going to say, do we get the reveal on the?
He hops out of the droid, and then
he's been hiding. Yeah.
Then he commences to throw down with these dark users.
Take a look at that.
The mask, the trope thrown on.
I was going to say, I mean, have a look at that mask with the red eyes. And I mean, how do you not go, are we sure he's a good guy even?
Yeah.
Right.
And then we get to see La Cara finally establish her full connection.
Yes.
And the saber goes full green.
Yeah. And she's no slouch.
No, she's holding her own.
Well, I mean, look at her back at the forge when the training remote fires up and like half a dozen shots, and she like it was nothing.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then again,
she outdid Luke right there.
Well, it's so true.
His ass still hurts.
Oh, that's so funny.
But then you get one of the final face-offs here between the Margrave and the Sith guy.
Yeah.
And again, we're throwing lightning.
And it's big time red lightning. And it gets through.
It does.
It gets through. He's actually hurt, I guess, or temporarily phased by that.
Yeah.
But he's conjured some kind of shield around himself. Like his whole body is glowing green.
He's limbed in something. We get the shot of the one fellow who pulls back. And the Margrave actually called him by name, and I don't remember what it is.
So it's possible that he was actually
he was one of the
Jedi that was
one of the invitations. Yeah. And he says, this isn't you. And he's like, I'm sorry, I got caught up in the darkness of the rest of them.
And at that point, his saber turns purple.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, you're so in Sam Jackson territory.
Yes.
Well, and then the idea that, like, based on your emotions, mid wielding, you could move through it, like
the spectrum.
Let's use the Luke Vader fight from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And you could see Luke having his saber turn red during that last scene, while he's
right
turn back green when he throws it at the Emperor and says, "No, I'm a Jedi." So I really like the idea that there's an instant connection with
it's cool.
The saber.
It's definitely cool, and it certainly it gets you thinking about the wielder's connection to the Force and where they are, as you say, on the spectrum, I guess.
Mood
right,
sabers.
And it doubles down a little, like it reinforces. It's more direct, but the idea that the crystal calls to you when you're a Padawan, and that there's one crystal per user.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas now these crystals, I mean, certainly, if we try to wrap this into the conventions that we know or that we understand about canonical lightsabers, means that the Smith had to have attuned them, and what that process was so that they could be variable. That is a whole interesting new use of the Force that we've never seen before.
Well, we've seen
cobbling one together in a cutscene.
We've seen masterless Jedi. Now we have userless sabers.
Yeah, unattuned, variable tuned, open tuned. All the musicians watching are laughing right
now. Plug and play.
Yeah.
Plug and play sabers.
I guess so. Yeah. So this one ranks pretty high on everybody's list.
Yeah,
mine too. Favorite.
We like it. And then we end with the symbolic.
We opened with that as well. I don't know if you noticed.
We did open, but it wasn't ignited.
It wasn't as long.
No.
You can still see the light coming out of it, but not.
Now you get the full-on space saber.
Yes, the whole like
the order has been relit.
Very much so, which is kind of cool.
Love it.
To remind us that it is, in fact, like we needed any more reminding that we are watching a Star Wars property.
Yeah, this is Lightsaber Planet, and there's the saber.
All right, we're moving on here now. What are we going on to?
We are going on to episode number 6, TOB1.
TOB1. And initially when I watched it, I was like, oh, it's the Astro Boy episode.
Yes, very heavily influenced.
Yeah, very much so. But the second time around on my refresh, it's pretty deep.
It is.
It's really, really deep because, first off, this episode really challenges our ideas of what is a Jedi and how does, there's a line from Professor Mitaka who talks about the Force is in everything, not in all living things, is in everything, which I thought was really cool. So what do we think of this one?
I like this one. I like this one a lot.
Maybe my least favorite in terms of the skin. I almost couldn't get past the skin it was in.
Sure.
Definitely had a different perspectives watching it the second time through.
Yeah.
And focus more on the less on the superficial and more on the deep stuff that was going on in the story.
Yeah,
it was good, especially the combat, which was much more stylized and chaotic than the rest of the other episodes. That was my favorite part.
Let's get through the synopsis here, and then we can get into it a little bit more. Shortly after the Great Jedi Purge, a droid named TOB1, Toby, lives on a deserted planet with his armless creator, Professor Mitaka, and dreams of becoming a Jedi Knight. Do androids dream of electric sheep or what? There we go. So one day, Mitaka tells him that in order to become a Jedi, he must find a Kyber crystal so that he can forge a lightsaber. TOB1 scours the planet but finds nothing. He defies Mitaka's orders to never enter the basement, discovers a starship, well, I want to talk about that in a little bit too, and accidentally sends a signal that alerts a Sith Inquisitor to their presence. Mitaka reveals himself to be a former Jedi and hides both TOB1 and his old lightsaber hilt. When TOB1 leaves his hiding spot, he discovers that the Inquisitor has ransacked Mitaka's lab and has killed him. TOB1 continues his research and successfully terraforms the planet but is confronted by the Inquisitor. Upon fixing Mitaka's lightsaber, TOB-1 is revealed to be powered by a kyber crystal and designed by Mitaka to be able to wield the Force. And lighting the lightsaber, he kills the Inquisitor in a duel, then departs the planet to explore the galaxy and uphold Mitaka's legacy. So what do we think about droids as Jedi?
I like it. It harkens back to the thought that you had discussed there, Hank, back in our Fandalorian about R2.
R2 being Force sensitive.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I mean, there's a moment in Empire Strikes Back when Yoda's explaining the connection between things to Luke, and he says between the rock and between the ship and between the land and the water. But there's the one thing that doesn't fit in there is the ship. The ship is a
created
man-made material object.
Yeah.
So that moment I went, everything has the Force. The molecules that make up the universe have the Force. And so droid wielding lightsabers and casting lightning or levitate, it all works for me perfectly. I always viewed droids as a second, like the L337 Revolution was one of my favorite bits of all Star Wars. Yep. Because I've always thought that droids have been shat upon by just Star Wars society,
Right. That's right. They have.
Even to the point where they 3PO can't stop calling people master.
Yeah.
Right.
Even back in this series itself, I know we didn't get an image of it. We got the one of the bandits in the duel is actually riding around. He's basically gutted a probe droid and is using it like a speeder.
Yeah.
He looked like a Doug too. He looked like Sebulba.
Yeah, he did. He really did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got this Jedi Master who's lost his arms, presumably in something very tragic, and has taken a different turn. He's living quietly on this planet, and he wants to terraform it,
bring life to it,
bring life back to this planet.
I mean, possibly in the Purge, because we're pre A New Hope, but still inside that Rebels era of Inquisitors.
Are we? So here, I want to talk about that for a second. Certainly, we're somewhere in the classic era, because if you look at the walls of the hut, the actual hut that they live in, there's a visual narrative, almost like pictograms, all over the walls.
True.
Where there's like a batch of A-wings flying around. There's some AT-ATs on the wall, and I'm pretty sure there's an image of a 4-armed lightsaber wielding villain facing off against a single lightsaber wielding guy. And I'm like, is that General Grievous and Obi-Wan, or is that maybe General Grievous and Mitaka?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
so that's sort of like the history of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think for an Inquisitor, it kind of tipped me off to where we were inside the timeline, if you will.
Right. Well, we've only ever seen Inquisitors in Rebels, so is there room for them to? I seriously hope, that the rumor is true and that we do get Inquisitors in the Obi-Wan series, because I'd like to see sort of, what is the,
they've cast the 5th brother.
Oh, that's cool then. So, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Can't deny the Astro Boy connection here.
Absolutely not. Right down to the nub on his head.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I mean, look at that big circular disc on the chest. So it's still, grounds us in, protocol droid has a has a thing.
And at the end of the day, these are designed to bring new fans to Star Wars. So we really want these to resonate with people who's are the opposite of us, where we're Star Wars first and anime second. We want this. This is the idea. This is a gateway drug to Star Wars. We want more fans. And so it's important that these resonate with the people that are anime fans first.
I think, that it's fair to say that Star Wars fans, adjunctively are probably, fans of animation, maybe not necessarily anime, but I mean, I know that I'm a big animation junkie. I love animation.
Certainly. I will watch almost any, I will watch that My Little Pony thing you were talking about earlier. I love animation.
Yeah, me too.
Well, they do have a pretty good arc in that one.
In the My Little Pony.
They do.
Yeah.
And I mean, and even if it's not something I enjoy, I'll watch animation critically, having spent some time in animation school, So
yeah, of course.
I enjoy the art.
So the idea that he puts him on a quest to go and find a kyber crystal.
But before that, though, pretty heavy on the Aurebesh.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. What'd you pull out of that?
I pulled a lot of it. A lot of the characters are readable, but they've also got a lot of characters that I've never seen before, and I could not find in any of my reference material. But a lot of the words come together. They're kind of like gibberish. So
Really?
yeah, like Cortua and Aga, Sal, Agr, Permanencia, Desarrollo, Datos. This one might be possible as satellite transfer, but two of the characters within transfer I don't recognize. Calorf, Nucleo, Dro, Tierra, and yeah, like
I mean, we think of like Galactic Basic as being the English language of Star Wars. So I mean, maybe maybe it's just as intentional as any of the other things that we've watched, and the Aurebesh translates into a different spoken. Maybe it's a different spoken language that they're just using the same alphabet for.
Yeah,
it could be interesting to see whether, because we are North American and we speak English, but perhaps there is a Japanese Aurebesh, or perhaps there's a
never even
it's sort of
occurred
insular
to
to
me
think
possible.
that, right? So maybe there is. I'm going to check that out later.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but the Pinocchio thing is not lost.
Oh, I know.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
I'm a real boy.
And I think as far as new fans go, this one would heavily resonate with a younger audience.
I think so too.
Because
that's exactly what I was thinking before.
You have a young Jedi, like a kid who wants to be a knight. And,
that's right.
You
can't tell me that we all didn't run around with a stick in the backyard thinking that we were, the hero of our own story.
He even goes upstairs with the other droids and they play Jedi Knights.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. He says, after my chores, let's play Jedi.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But he gets tasked by the professor there to go find that Kyber crystal.
So it's an interesting, go find the Kyber crystal, because the Kyber crystal is what you need to power a lightsaber. And
there's one on this planet.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mean quest, but
is it though?
Well, it's a self-discovery quest.
Well, this is So I was going to say there's a lot of introspection here that's kind of needed, and I mean, Toby is obviously written as a very young, a young character. I guess humanly speaking, maybe 9 or 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe even less than that.
The first thing he says when he wakes up at the very beginning of the episode is, "Did you make me bigger today?"
Yeah. After he got his his upgrade or his
just like a child, he can't wait to be an adult or a teenager or the next step.
Yeah.
So presumably, this isn't the first time it's happened to him.
No.
Maybe he's already gone through some upgrades to get to where he is now, and that's the whole. Did you make me bigger today? After having gone through it once or twice, maybe.
And it's kind of weird for him, if being a droid, he's more closer to a child than a droid, because he keeps getting told, don't do this, don't do that, stay out of the basement.
It gives me this similar vibes to when Queel rehabilitated IG-11, and he had to basically teach it how to do everything.
Yeah.
Suggesting that there's more, like, instead of just like typing a program into it, that there's more nurture involved than just
they call it what's the word we use in the RPG, the heuristic processor,
right?
The heuristic processor in this droid must be like a big old blank slate. But again,
you almost get the idea that he might have even found a way to keep his Padawan's consciousness and put it inside.
Do you think there's something to that? Maybe.
I mean, he named it
his Padawan later.
That is true.
And the Padawan's name is Toby, and the droid's name is Tobi. So and after
but he does ignore that thing again. He goes down in the basement and finds that starship.
So here, let's talk about this for a second. Do you have the exterior shot of that? So that's a Incom T-16 Skyhopper.
It sure is.
And canonically speaking, that is not a starship. That's an airspeeder. So it's like a jet plane is what it is. But super, super cool to know that apparently they can be hardened against the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
That's the model.
Nod to it's a toy that Luke's playing with.
The toy model, ship model that Luke is playing with in the garage in A New Hope is exactly what this is. In fact, if you look at some of the long shot across the gangplank into the Skywalker house, there's a full-size Skyhopper sitting there. We don't ever get to see it on screen, but it's there. It's
Assumably that's the Beggar's Canyon.
yeah. So
vehicle.
the line from A New Hope where Luke's like, "Oh, we used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home." That's the T-16.
Perfect.
It's kind of cool.
But we get a reveal that the professor's all force sensitive as he hides Toby away,
Yeah.
and he's just pulling blocks out of the wall.
Yeah. And then tosses in the two halves of the lightsaber handle.
Yeah.
And Toby's just like, "You're a Jedi?"
Yeah, and then he delivers that line, "I am one with the Force. May the Force be with you."
Yeah.
And then again, this is why I think this one's more key to the younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
They don't show his demise; they just show you the aftermath.
Yeah,
and even then, this Inquisitor is still respectful of his opponent, I guess, because we've come
Takes the time to bury him.
Yeah. So you get all you need there, but Toby is determined and going to fix everything that has been destroyed.
For those who are following along or haven't really been following along, it was immediately, like, to me, it was immediate that, oh, that's an Inquisitor, just based on the model, the TIE fighter that he arrived in, with the hemispherical wing shape.
Yeah, that weird prototype.
Yeah.
Flat on the top. Yeah.
But he does manage to fulfill the thing, and they have life on the planet now.
Yeah, continues Mitaka's research and comes up with whatever they needed to do to terraform and created some weather.
And for whatever reason, I guess that alerts the Inquisitor, and he comes back.
Well, the alert came from Toby in the T-16 when he was flipping switches and he was playing Jedi, and he inadvertently sent a message.
Yes, but that led to the death of the
professor.
Right. They never do say why he comes back. Does he just come back to make sure he finished him off, or?
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it.
Because he comes back and he's like, "Oh, there was a second one here." Eh?
Yeah.
And then they throw down.
But it's funny though, because Toby goes from being this like, "I want to be a Jedi" to he is a Jedi.
Yeah.
Because you notice when he puts the lightsaber together, it's hands free.
Yeah, it just forcefully.
Yeah. We get the exploded view as it springs apart. Together. Yeah. Which I thought was pretty cool.
But then you get at the end of it, it's more of a Transformers moment. It's like a combiner.
Oh yeah.
When the other droid.
Oh, that's right.
Gives them a little bit of a soup up, and they put in the Death Strike on the.
I got a Tron vibe off of this.
Yeah,
heavy.
But he's using them as like a jetpack.
I love that.
Yeah,
it was like
it was like your level up moment.
It was a Voltron thing, like by your powers combined.
So he takes out the Inquisitor.
He does, yeah.
Then he kind of falls to the ground. They separate, and they're like, "Are you all right?" And he gives a little.
I love that actually. Just the thumbs up, and then they all cheer.
Yeah.
And then he takes off into the galaxy with his newly repaired arm.
Yeah.
And
it's not Star Wars if you don't lose an arm.
Well, that is true.
T-17 Star Hopper.
Yeah. So we all agree that this one is certainly the most should we say targeted for
kid friendly?
Kids? Yeah, kid friendly, I guess.
I would say so.
Absolutely.
I liked it the second time around. I think I paused it a couple times to have a look at the walls. I think that to me was the most like, oh, there's history here, and this is the way that we sort of figure out where we are in the history. And that made it that was more compelling to me than, oh, it's just a guy who's hiding out on a planet raising a droid like it's his kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Which in and of itself is still like, oh, it's cool you're raising a droid like a human child. Yeah. But where are we at now?
We are at episode 7.
We are at episode 7 of 9. Oh, it's a little Star Trek reference for you. This one, it's the Elder, centuries after the death of Darth Bane and the initial extinction of the Sith. Taijin and his Padawan Dan are sent to explore the Outer Rim when Taijin senses a disturbance in the Force. They land on an isolated planet and they arrive at a remote village where they learn of a mysterious elder man who hiked onto the mountaintop. Dan follows the Elder's trail and meets the man who reveals himself to be a former Sith who left the Order before it fell apart. The Elder wounds Dan, and Taijin arrives to fight the Elder. Taijin narrowly manages to kill the Elder, who turns into a rocky sediment and destroys his ship before he dies. As they leave the village upon Dan's recovery, Taijin tells Dan that being a Jedi means being kind-hearted, so they do not end up like the Elder. Where are we at with this one, guys? What do you think?
I like
Love
this one.
this-
This
love
is
this one
one
a
of my
lot.
favorite ones.
There's a couple standout moments for me in this one. One being the killing blow, which I really liked, and the other one is we've seen Jedi become one with the Force, but we've never seen a bad guy turn to dust before.
Right.
Which I think is kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the alternate take on the Sith eyes on this, the bad guy too.
Yeah.
It's like black with a single white, yellow pupil. Kind of neat.
Yeah.
Kind of Mill Lang style from the Protoculture.
Almost. Yeah, very much so, isn't it?
So we start off with them cruising through space, so we get introduced to our Jedi and Padawan.
That's right. Yeah. Tai Jin here, played by David Harbour.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
And we get to the planet, and they remark how, oh, this is a lovely planet. Looked good from space, but looks better on world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the Padawan, Dan, he makes quick connection with the kids.
He does.
And that's a great little scene. Kind of a nod to, I guess it would be Jaws.
They're kind
The
of
drunk scene at the table where he's like back and forth mimicking with his kid.
Yeah.
Right.
They're kind of like, they're little kids, right? Like, how little kids do that. They'll tee-hee behind your back, and as soon as you look, they run away.
Yeah.
And they kind of do that in this scene until he kind of gives them the wink, the little winky,
Yeah.
which apparently they responded to. So
It's kind of like the Jawas that run away from Luke in the A New Hope.
what do you think of the characterization of Dan at the beginning of this episode, where he's a little I don't want to say impetuous, but he's eager.
Yes.
He's eager to get into something.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
you hit the
looking
nail
for
on the
a
head
fight.
earlier by saying the relationship so much like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship when
Yep.
we meet them in A Phantom Menace.
Yeah. It totally is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Obi-Wan,
And
who's
like he's even like, if we see there's lightsabers out.
yeah,
slow down.
Constantly, yeah. Oh, maybe we'll get to see a Sith.
yeah.
You don't want
No, you don't want to see
You
this.
don't
It's
want
not
that.
that way.
He certainly has a reverence though for Tai Jin, because he makes a point to tell us now, whether that's just him blowing smoke up Tai Jin's robes or whether we're to believe what he says, but he refers to Tai Jin as being the most well-traveled Jedi in the Order.
Mm.
Like, he's been everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man.
I think he's got some playful banter there going on, because like I think he does mean that,
Yeah.
but then he turns around, he's like, "Oh, I'm so thankful to have you as my master."
Yeah.
And he's like,
Almost like
good to
there's
hear.
a
it. He's
yeah.
like, "I'm being sarcastic."
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to ignore
I'm gonna
that.
pretend that I didn't hear that.
And sort of a nod to Anakin from A Phantom Menace, where he's like, "I'm going to be the first one to see them all." Well, maybe we got a guy who's close to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
They get directed to the Sith ship, and Tai Jin, he says, "I don't recognize this class,
Yeah,
but
it's-
it looks like something from a holocron."
Yeah, it looks like the old Sith. Even says the old Sith style or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dan decides he's going to go up the mountain and see if he can find him.
It's interesting though, because the whole the MacGuffin in this is a disturbance in the Force,
Yes.
but only Tai Jin senses it, not
Yeah,
Dan.
Yeah.
right.
And I think that's kind of implying his power levels are comparable to the Sith guy,
Yeah,
whereas
I would
Dan's
think
are
so.
still, they're not there yet.
Yeah.
There's sort of another thing thematically here, because like what we know about our Star Wars, if you will, that as you get older, your powers increase. Like you get more mature, wiser, you refine them.
Sure.
And this gives sort of the idea that your powers wax and wane. Like
Yeah.
when you're a teenager, you're going to get more
Absolutely.
powerful, and then when you're old,
You're
you're
gonna
going to
peak.
get less. Right?
I think
and-
the idea of
That's a new take on that.
to me, I kind of got the whole idea that age is the great equalizer, that you could be a very powerful Jedi, but eventually you're just the physicality, you just aren't going to be able to compete physically.
Right. But
You
and
know?
it's very opposite of what we see, because we see Dooku tune a teenage
Well,
and fully trained Obi-Wan
this is
in
it,
their
right?
prime. Like, so
And Yoda at 800 plus
Right.
years old drops his
Flipping all over
his
the-
gamer stick and goes full buzzsaw.
right.
So interesting though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Neat take.
As we get Dan going up the mountain, they come across I can't remember what they call that beast, but
Oh, it's a bantha. He says there's a bantha carcass.
I thought it was something else.
Oh, I was-
Fargon or something like that. It's
Yeah.
a very specific animal to because it's what the master warns him about, not the
Yeah.
Sith. He's like, there's there are these beasts, and if you don't trouble them, they won't charge you. But when they charge you, they're deadly.
Oh, I could have swore he said it was a bantha carcass, but I guess I'm wrong on that one.
Yeah, but he goes up to investigate and finds out that yes, it is a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Disabled it.
It's a clean cut. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, come on back. But before that happens, the elder shows up.
Yes.
Again, with the highly stylized sort of Japanese style lightsabers.
Big time.
And this guy is voiced by James Hong. So
Nice.
Is that
there's a mainstay.
is that Poe's dad?
yes, it was Poe's dad in
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda.
So that means that he's also oh my god, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lopan.
Lopan. Of
Lopan.
course. Yeah. Is he not also the guy who sold Gizmo and Gremlins?
He
Yes.
might be.
I think he is
I
too.
think so. Yeah.
He's
Such a
been
great
in
actor.
a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Dual wielding, as many Sith do.
he manages to take out Dan pretty damn quick though.
Well, I mean,
And even remarks, oh, you're not the one I'm here for.
no. So that leans into what you were saying though about the power level and the sensitivity.
Yeah. And in taking him out, he's like, I'm going to lure your master up here.
Yeah.
And indeed, he does show up.
Yes.
They face off, and
They do phase off. You know what I liked about this one though? There's how deliberate the like the fight. We kind of criticized it in Star Wars Rebels, how short the final duel was between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul.
yeah, but it's measured.
That's what I mean though.
Like-
And I'm certainly not a student of ancient sword fighting techniques, but like my understanding is that it's this whole thing that we see, like the clashing of blades, is really very much a Hollywood thing, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. The fact that they go in for the kill, every shot is a kill shot here.
Yeah. And don't they say at one point, like, the battle is over before it's even begun? Like with this
Maybe.
style of fighting?
Yeah.
Because like they
Yeah.
focus in on like the foot movements and the position.
Yes.
And
Yeah, we see that throughout the
Like,
whole anthology series,
yeah,
where there's a
before
lot of
they
like
strike, there's something
there's
going
some
on.
setup to the strike.
Yeah. And like Taijin said, I didn't defeat him in that battle.
No,
Because there was a point where it's the Padawan who,
if there
catches
wasn't
him off guard.
if there wasn't the distraction of tossing in the extra
extra.
lightsaber,
Yeah. he
it would
loses.
have gone very differently.
yeah,
But because of the distraction, Taijin and like I love that he actually deactivates his saber, holds it up to his chest, and then
Yes.
it's the Kylo Ren versus the Knights of Ren, where he did the same thing.
Right.
yeah,
The hole in his face.
Yeah, smoking hole.
enough to put him down, but not kill him though.
No, well, I mean, he's definitely dying.
He's dying, but he's got enough time to
Not before he
hits the switch on his
reaches
ship
over.
and,
Yeah,
blows
Pulls
up
it.
his ship.
pulls out the key fob.
Yeah, hide the evidence. So who knows what was on the ship that would have given him away?
Mm.
Yeah. Now here's the thing, too, right? This hit me now. Where is Darth Maul's infiltrator? Did he go back for it at some point? Like, is it still just sitting around on Naboo somewhere? Like,
Probably in the junkyard over where the Falcon was sitting
this is what I mean. Like,
on Jakku.
if this is a thing, like there's something to, maybe there's like Sith secrets, like Sith alchemy or a Sith holocron or something, and that's what he's destroying. But that does, kind of beg the question about these guys. Like Maul had a very unique ship, the Sith infiltrator, I think is what they called it. And presumably he flew it to Naboo.
Yeah.
So where is it?
Still hidden on Naboo.
I guess so. Yeah.
But like you guys were saying, we get to see the Sith go to ground.
Mud, dirt, dust. What do you call that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just it's gross.
Sith poop.
Sith poop. Oh, it's so good.
Why buy a new Sith costume when you could rinse the old one out?
Slightly used.
That's right. Fits one size fits most.
Correct.
And then back at the village, we find out that
Did anybody think that Dan was done in this? Like he was?
I thought he was dead.
I did
thought he was
too.
dead
Yeah,
until
I fully did.
when he steps over him and he blinks.
Yeah.
I still thought he was dead, and I thought that lightsaber throw
It
was
was a
his
lo-
last gasp.
Oh yeah, the last ditch.
Hmm.
Right.
I agree with that. I felt the same way as well. But then he gets the big pep talk here at the end of the episode about how, you should know that at some point it's going to go the other way, and you're going to get. He talks about the elder being, I probably wouldn't have won if he was younger, and one day I'm going to be weak, and you're going to continue to get stronger, and that whole waxing and waning thing.
Well, even the elder during the duel, he's like, "Oh, I would have loved to have faced you
when I was
in
younger."
my prime.
Yeah.
He's really powerful.
This one is the most sort of straightforward. If you could pick a center line to anime, where you have the extremes, the Astro Boy stuff, and then the high realism of, say, Akira. This is the one that's almost like Robotech or Voltron, where it's almost that Saturday morning quality of pop anime. It works perfectly.
Yeah, it does. Overall, I guess again, when we're talking about sort of favorites, I mean, is this like in the top 50% or the bottom 50% for you guys?
Top 50 for me.
Yeah, it's probably it's probably ranks in the top 3 out of the 8.
Top 3 episodes. Okay, that's fair.
So that brings us to episode 8.
Episode 8, again. So this is an interesting one because this is also one of my favorite episodes for different reasons, and I'm going to get into it because it's pretty meta. But Lop and Ocho. So this one directed by Yuki Igarashi and written by somebody named Sayawaka. So during the reign of the Empire, a rabbit-like alien slave named Lop escapes her captors on the planet Dawe and is discovered by the planet's clan leader Yazaburo and his daughter Ocho, the latter of whom convinces the former to adopt her as his daughter. 7 years later, the Empire has occupied their planet and is exploiting it for its natural resources. Yazaburo wants to drive the Empire off their planet, while Ocho wants to cooperate with the Empire. After failing to convince Yazaburo to join her, Ocho enlists in the Imperial Navy despite Lop's protests. With Ocho gone, Yazaburo passes down the family treasure, an ancient lightsaber given to their ancestor and passed down the generations, to the Force-sensitive Lop and departs to confront Ocho. Ocho blinds Yazaburo in a fight, but Lop arrives and injures Ocho, who is forced to flee. Lop then vows to return Ocho home. What do you guys think of this one?
This one kind of caught me off guard a little bit.
Did it?
Because, yes, the saber is passed down from parent to child.
Yeah.
But at what point does it guarantee that the child is force
sensitive? Yeah, there is no guarantee.
Yeah, it's almost like the holding the lightsaber is what gives you the force in this.
He made it sound like in the family, the pictogram there, he made it sound like it wasn't just the lightsaber, but it was also the teachings.
Yes,
which I could buy into, but then there's none of that is put on Lop. It's just here's the sword and now you can use it.
This is the only one that I sort of got lost in the narrative too. I kind of found myself going, what just happened? It wasn't as sort of, there's a time jump too. We're
that's 7 years that stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of got lost in the narrative a bit. For me though, I kind of like the fact that it was a rabbit character so that we could canonize our rabbit buddy from the Marvel Comics, Jackson.
He's he's a Leppy.
Right.
So I presume that is the Leppy species.
Yeah, why not?
We saw like a chain gang of them at the beginning of the episode, like they were being used for slave labor.
Yeah.
So,
she had the collar on at the beginning, and the collar
that's
was
right.
unlocked. And that's an Imperial class Star Destroyer too.
That is, yeah. Let's hold that shot for a second, because this is what I was just saying to Andy before. I said part of the reason why I like this episode, and this is where it gets meta for me, is this whole dynamic between Lop and Ocho. To me, if I were to relate this to something that we're all familiar with in canon, to me, this is the origin story of Morgan Elsbeth.
Oh, very cool.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just my own headcanon saying, wow, that would be a really cool origin for her, to know how we got to that point where she's now, working for the Empire or for the Remnant, still ripping the resources out of the planet to produce whatever. I could see how that the Morgan Elsbeth character could have been in a similar
position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wasn't she the last person on Dathomir though? Wasn't she a Force witch?
Yeah, I think that they've talked about she's actually supposed to be a Force Witch. I don't
know if that was ever like implicit.
They
in the
never hit
episode.
it on the nose. It was just suggested that she was
Right.
in some behind the scenes stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly the idea of everyone is relatively decent when they're young to be twisted by things as they're older, that aren't necessarily, on paper, the Empire is a good thing. That's what she's
This is
spouting the rhetoric, right?
yeah, it's a
We're not going
big dive on
we need
that.
their security. We need their help. And so,
Yeah. She's drank the Kool-Aid. She believes in the New Order, and that the only way that they are going to prosper as a planet is by supporting them, and therefore getting mutually supported by them.
Yeah. Because it basically turns her on her head, because when they're young, she's right there. She's like, we found you. We're going to bring you into our family. We're going to take care of you. We're going to help you.
Yeah. Shout out here to Sonny Chiba Dad.
yes.
Can't help but say that it's he kind of looks like a little bit like Sonny Chiba.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But like, she really is the one that forces his hand, because she's like, we're gonna in, and he's like, oh, now it would be disrespectful if I didn't take you in.
Right.
Yeah, this is happening.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because he's this opening sequence where she's in the marketplace and she blurts out about how there's lots of food for them. He's like, don't ever say that.
Yeah.
Like, is that because they're just an upper class family, or because they're flourishing where other people are not, and they don't want to bring unwanted attention to the house?
I think it's more of a don't flaunt your wealth.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Because this is still 7 years prior to the Empire fully moving in.
Right.
And like, slaves are still technically getting away, but
Yeah.
Don't wave your rings at the homeless people.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it changes quickly once she's grown up and she's at odds with the father.
Yeah, and I mean it's pretty on the nose here, where they basically have a big fight in front of
all the workers.
Yeah.
It's up to Lop to try and
Is she wearing a balloon animal on her back? What is that?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's
sort
kind
of
of
weird
like butterfly
dialogue.
wings or something. It's kind of
I
neat.
guess so.
Yeah.
But she's not in it for long, because she switches sides pretty quick afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean
And
the symbolic, cutting
of the
off
braid.
the braid, and then marching forward to join with that officer,
Yeah.
which is kind of neat. We've talked about near humans in Star Wars before, and now we get a look at another near human species that we've probably never seen before, with his little
half green ear,
elf ears, and
Yeah.
but he's definitely got a sinister look about him.
oh, big time. Yeah.
But Lop brings back the braid and presents it to the father, and
Yeah, and I mean this is an interesting little bit of character development for this character, who really doesn't have. There's only so much you can do in what 15-minute episode, where he acknowledges that he was really hard on her, and that if it looked like he favored Ocho, he apologizes to her, and then goes through this whole explaining the family lineage and then the sword thing, and then basically bestows it to her to basically carry on the fight, as it were, I guess.
So my thought on her instantly becoming passed on the knowledge, this scene here with the ritual, is that like a spiritual passing on, or is there something literally being passed from him to her?
Right.
Yeah, that's
he tells her, like, don't worry about your science vision. You can see this with your own eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because she goes to put her little
because she doesn't quite believe
her
what's happening around her.
Thing.
Yeah.
And then he just ends with respectfully accept this.
Yeah.
Which she does.
It's a beautiful looking lightsaber, by the way,
is.
when it's sitting there in the box and it's all shiny and
very ornate.
Yeah.
Little red tassel coming off it.
Yeah. But then we find Ocho has gone fully bad. She's even
big time,
sporting the Empire uniform.
It's the Krennic outfit, essentially.
Yeah, so that's high ranking officer too.
Yeah.
The white.
But she goes right after her father, and she's yelling at him the whole time.
Yeah. Like I didn't get it if she was actually trying to, because initially that first argument, she's trying to make her argument about why it's better for them to join them. Is that an extension of that argument here, or is this like I've had enough of you?
I think it's the I had enough of you.
Okay.
Well, there was a scheme too. She like what she didn't say was she was trying to sort of trick her father in that moment and then when that scene where they first meet that officer, she explains that
I didn't get it done yet, but I will get it done.
Right, yeah, and that his terrorist actions will be subverted,
that's right.
Right?
That's
so
right.
They view him as a threat, and that she's the backdoor into subduing.
I mean, from the perspective of the legal government, I mean, she's not wrong. Yeah. I mean, what he is doing or what he's about to do is a terrorist act.
Technically,
yeah, I guess.
I mean, hell, all the rebels are terrorists from the.
That's true. Empire. That is true. Yes.
Guilty.
But Lop shows up and they have it out, her and Ocho.
Again, stylized blade. It's like they all got together and went, we're going to all use stylized blades, okay?
Yeah.
Well, this one more so than the rest because this one actually has little characters
in the blade. Yes, I saw that.
Which tips her off like, oh, why do you have the
family sword?
Blade?
Yeah. And then she's really angry because she's like, it's mine. I'm the heir.
Yeah.
I like the fact that in this fight, she actually, I don't even know what it's called, the triple segmented thing. It's kind of reminds me of one of the Praetorian Guard from The Last Jedi. They had a similar looking thing, how she actually cuts one of the sections off of it. So then it's down to just two. And then she separates them. It was a pretty cool fight sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I liked it.
But then you get Lop's last strike. And she picks up her father's sai and basically puts an X through Ocho.
The sai because Sonny Chiba Dad had a pair of them.
Yeah.
Did it look like they were kyber crystals at the center of the blades?
Maybe.
If you looked close enough, there's definitely a jewel in them.
Yes.
Nice.
And I kind of wondered because the sai functions very similar to a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Even though there's a physical blade there, you can see a hint of blue in that.
Definitely.
So interesting too. I thought she'd fallen to her death, and for a second, when she comes up here on the deck of this ship, I actually thought it was a VT-49 Decimator.
Oh,
which is
cool.
Which is the ship that was introduced in Star Wars Galaxies, and then is part of the Star Wars Armada tabletop miniature game, but it's not. It's what is it? The Avenger Corvette, I think it is. Yeah, which we see those in the Star Wars Squadrons game. Yeah, so overall, cool episode. Yeah. I like the idea. To me, this one fits really well. As I said, I don't know why I went there, but to me, this is sort of the Morgan Elsbeth kind of thing. How somebody could be co-opted into buying into the idea of what the Empire is.
Radicalized.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us to the last episode. Now, this one, after having a second viewing of all the episodes, this is the bottom one for me.
Yeah. Story-wise, I didn't mind it, but the soundtrack, I could not deal with it.
No, I had a hard time. The visual style on this one was the hardest one for me to watch. So this one, it's Akakiri, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Is directed by from Science Saru Studios. This one's directed by Yunyong Choi and written by Yuichiro Kido. So prior to the initial extinction of the Sith, a Jedi named Tsubaki, who has been suffering from visions of an unidentified individual dying in front of him, reunites with his old love, Misa, a princess who has been overthrown by her dark side wielding aunt, Masago. I
made a mistake earlier. This is the one where I got lost in the narrative.
Is it? Okay.
This is the one that was confusing to me. Yeah.
With the aid of guides Senshu and Kamahachi, Tsubaki and Misa make their way to the royal palace. Masago captures Tsubaki's friends and overpowers him, then attempts to convince him to join her as her apprentice. When Tsubaki refuses, Masago's masked henchmen attack him. Tsubaki kills them, but also accidentally kills Misa, dressed in their uniform just as he had foreseen. And completely broken, Tsubaki agrees to join Masago, forming a dyad to resurrect Misa, and then departs. This to me was a retelling of the Anakin Palpatine relationship.
Mhm.
Saving Padme. Only this time they actually deliver on that one. They actually do resurrect her, which that in itself is interesting. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it that he. Oh, maybe that's just me, and I'm kind of black and white when it comes to these things. The good guys wear white hats, the bad guys wear black, and the good guys, and maybe that's what makes these things a little bit more human, is that the good guys they're not supposed to turn to the dark side.
But he did it with the best of intentions.
He did do it with the best of intentions. Now, is he going to be able to come back from that? I don't know.
I think so.
Are we ever going to see that character again?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
But, when he shows up, he's ready to go.
He is. Yeah, it's go time. His visions, though, did you notice that they're not just like emotionally painful? They are physically painful.
Yeah.
That's a new thing.
Yeah.
They're what caused him to lose focus and lose this particular battle, right?
Yeah.
Because they're able to get the jump on him.
And these weird new looking aliens too.
I was going to say the coolest thing of this episode was the close up of the ostrich horse thing at the beginning when they're like full running. I'm like, oh, that's a cool looking horse thing.
We get to meet our princess in the cave because it turns out she and her friends rescue him with a barrage of arrows.
Right, and then we have do we get the flashback?
Not yet.
Okay, we're not at the flashback yet. Okay,
but we do meet the two guides who are basically the comedy relief in here. But
yeah. They're okay. And I say that in the sense that they're just okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
They're your standard no fighting and will turn on you characters.
It would leave you hanging high and dry.
Once they get to that canyon, that they're like, no, we don't want to go that way.
Yeah,
and she's like, okay, I'll pay you.
Yeah, she throws in the extra money.
Yeah, and he's like, no, we'll do it for more than that.
Right.
But the vision keeps coming to him, and it's a really cloudy vision.
You get the sense that something is happening, and then as he has it a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then it's not until the end, I think, when you see the slits on the helmet visor.
Yeah.
Where it's the reality of what he's done.
Yeah, because normally they get clearer the closer you get to the event.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I didn't find that they got super clear.
Not really, no.
But as they arrive at the palace, then she has a flashback.
It's the whole it's the Anakin Padme thing all over again, where
totally
he's been assigned to protect her, to watch over her,
and she's literally a princess as well.
Yeah.
But it's not too long until she is captured, and
no, exactly.
The initial clash between the new Sith Lord and him.
It's pretty one-sided.
It is.
It's really, really one-sided.
But I don't know that she's fully gone over, though, right?
I don't know,
because he does put him in a position where he's going to strike.
Yeah,
and ends up fulfilling his vision,
which she totally she
masterminds.
Yeah, absolutely, completely constructed.
But she's like, we can save her. It's not
too
late.
Yeah. We can do it together.
Yeah, and
even at Legacy line, I'll do whatever you want, my master.
Right.
As long as you save her.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, she does follow through.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
They bring her back. Whereas Palpatine didn't. Just does that mean like he was fully evil?
I don't know.
And her,
Yeah, and then ceremoniously, he just kind of up and leaves.
Well, he's followed through. They've resurrected her. She's safe.
Yeah.
And technically, the best thing for him to do now is to get her off planet, like that. Get that Sith Lord as far away.
I guess.
Because really, if he's turning to the dark side, he will eventually betray her.
Do we think that he's, Yeah, I mean. Ultimately, that's kind of the Sith thing, but do we think that's actually what's going to happen there?
Maybe.
Can you bring
the
that
idea
up
that he, the Dark Empire style thing where he wanted to defeat the problem from the inside?
What are we looking at there? Is that a new class of ship, or is that an old acclimator class assault ship?
Maybe.
Hard to say. I don't know.
Reminiscent of a destroyer, but
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say it one more time. This is my least favorite.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Highs and lows.
the clay drum soundtrack throughout it just ruined it for me.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you that too. Yeah, it was a bit of a hard watch.
Yeah.
But
Well, that was Akakiri, and
Yeah.
that's 9 of 9. So
I'd say overall they did really well.
yeah, I'm gonna start off. I guess as we kind of wind down here, I would just want to say that again, as we started off, if you have not taken a look at this yet, as a Star Wars fan, you really do sort of owe it to yourself to go back and have a look at it. I mean, you're gonna like what you like, and you're gonna not like what you don't like. But in terms of, can I even call it an experiment? I don't know.
I think so.
Exercise. Let's call it an exercise. In terms of this exercise of telling Star Wars stories in a different medium, for me, this is a success.
Yes.
As a whole, totally successful. Do we think there's room to do this again in another style, maybe? More Western animation, or
certainly it lets you know that we can be non-canon and do whatever we want and enjoy it. Keep going, guys. I got 5 seconds, but keep going, okay?
Yep.
Even to the point where even if it is canon, it's not just there's not just 3 people in the galaxy, right?
Right.
There are a universe worth of stories to be told.
Yeah, and this is it, like to see Star Wars stories that are not necessarily linked to, again, the main narrative, or that's the Skywalker saga.
There's other stuff happening, and it is interesting.
And I think they tried to do that with the Star Wars story films, with Rogue One. But again, even Rogue One, it connects directly to the main narrative. And then with Solo, I mean, it's an origin story.
Yeah.
If this works well, and Disney and Lucasfilm, are happy with the streaming results, hopefully they do take this as a indicator that we can go off and we can do other things in other mediums.
Even if they just revisit this whole idea and give it to the studios again and say, continue your stories.
Yeah.
About that.
There's been talk about, will there be a season 2? And what would a season 2 look like? I mean, first of all, do we think that we should get a season 2 of Star Wars Visions?
Maybe.
I'd watch another one easily.
Would you, now this is just a generalized question for everybody here, would you want another anthology series of just new stories, or would you like to see some of these season 1 stories fleshed out more, continued?
There's one I wouldn't mind seeing more of, and that's the Ninth Jedi.
I'm right with you on that one.
I kind of like the idea of just more standalone stuff. And I also got the impression that they put an open call out to hey, animation studios in Japan want to take a kick at the can, and then they maybe picked out of a hat the ones they liked.
Sure.
I get the feeling that there are already more.
That's quite possible,
right? Yeah.
Of the 10,000 submissions received,
these are the ones
we're
going
to
9, but certainly it was a hard choice, and we've got another 9 ready to go next
and
season.
There's more.
This work? Should we get the streaming numbers we want, right? So,
well, again, I mean, these streaming services have some of the best. They've got their numbers immediately. They know who's watching
the metrics
watching
right
it. So, I mean, not that we'll ever be privy to that, but I would be curious to know. Looking at you guys. All right, guys, what do you think?
I think that was
thumbs up for me. Yeah,
is definitely a thumbs up for me as well. Man, I'm completely rudderless here right now because we've got one more episode of What If that's gonna roll out
this
Wednesday coming, and then we're back
crazy.
in. So I guess the next episode is going to be part 3 of our So What look at Marvel Studios What If.
That's right.
Before we close out, just as I said before, you guys get a chance. If you haven't seen Venom, Let There Be Carnage, do it soon, because you are it'll be impossible to avoid the spoilers on the first one. And damn it, I need to be able to talk about this.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, once again, thanks for sticking it out with us. All technical difficulties aside, hope you enjoyed the show. And
if you like what you see, like and subscribe.
Come
back for more.
We're coming up on our first year anniversary of being a show. So for those of you who've been with us from the beginning, thank you. For those of you who are just tuning in now, thank you for choosing us. We love you all. And for Fandom Power, I'm Wes.
I'm Andy.
I'm Hank.
We'll see you next time, guys. Bye for now.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Fandom Power. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about another one of your favorite fandoms. Fandom Power is a Sawcast production.
My co-hosts are currently out of technology. While we're here alone. Yeah, okay, I'll stay here. Today's show is brought to you by used diapers. Why buy new diapers when you could just rinse the old ones out? Be sure to use used diapers, available in many sizes and flavors, today. I'm so tired. Oh, shameless self-promotion. Shameless self-promotion.
Nice.